Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first chat with Pat. We're kicking it off today, and we're kicking it off with Sondra Samuels, President and CEO of Northside Achievement Zone, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in a moment. But first, wanted to kind of lay out what this is. It's just a casual conversation. We're actually sitting in a room. Some of my team is out here with us, so you might hear some hooting and hollering. I guess you will. More than anything as well, they're sort of here to keep us on track, and they'll throw out questions as well. So if you have some, feel free to throw them into chat. We'll save some time at the end for questions, but again, if you've got one and one of them gets our attention that we should ask during, we will as well. So with that kind of said, and we kind of joked that actually felt far more like a TV talk show intro in front of a live studio audience than I was expecting. But Sondra, I would love if you would introduce yourself and speak a little bit to the Northside Achievement Zone, to NAS.
Yeah, well, let's act like this is a big studio audience.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, thank you.
I said sparkling water.
I know, thank you. I love your team. Pat, it's so great to be with you. And I love the chat with Pat. So that's really cool. So just a little bit about me. So one, I am so thrilled that you all are here in North Minneapolis. Yes. And I'll say more about that later, I know. But a little bit about me. So I am 24 years here on the North Side. I live here. So this is my home where I play and do work and have raised 3 girls. I'm an empty nester now. Me and my husband, in fact, can never figure out what to do. Just brand new empty nester. But started the Northside Achievement Zone about 11 years ago, or 10, 11. We're in our 10th year. And it is just simple. Children don't come in pieces. Right? You can't just say, oh, let's have mentoring over there and housing over there and jobs for the family over there and school here and after school. It's like they're whole people. And we decided, because of some of the challenges in North Minneapolis, that we wanted to, across nonprofits, to come together and serve them in a holistic fashion. And so our goal is to end multi-generational poverty in North Minneapolis using education and whole family support, you'd be part of that, as the levers, and that we create this culture of achievement in North Minneapolis, where all of our children graduate high school, college, and career ready, and they keep going. And so we got housing and careers and workforce, housing partners, workforce partners, health, early childhood, K through 12 schools, after school summer programs, colleges, and then we do a whole host of parenting education programming. And the whole idea is that we're better together. I think you've heard that before.
You're there.
And so, and we've had some amazing outcomes in terms of our children, like families, getting stabilized and getting the support they need. But then our scholars, the data shows that NAS scholars, and we use an outside research firm, Wilder, plus we have an internal evaluation, that NAS scholars are doing better academically. Then, and kids who are not in NAS become kind of our control group, right? And it's because of the wraparound. And I'm excited. We were partnered, then we weren't, now we are again, and you're here. And so we'll talk some more about that. But Pat, tell me about your big brother, big sister story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've been here about 3 months, so still pretty new to it all, new space, new person. And how I got here was kind of these 2 simultaneous paths. So my career before this, I was in healthcare, health tech startups, for profit. Now that I sit in this seat, feels pretty different than what I was expecting. But simultaneously, I've sort of had a life at Big Brothers Big Sisters as well. So even almost to the day when I started that first healthcare company, I became a big.
Oh, really? So 23 years ago?
23 years ago.
Wow.
And so that was Derek. And, Derek and I had sort of all the trials and tribulations of a new relationship. But I really look back on that, and Derek is a huge part of my life still. We are deeply ingrained in each other's lives, in our families, in our communities. And I look back on that, and quickly as we grew and grew, it became clear to me that, first of all, becoming a big was the best decision I ever made. If I think about, all the relationships in my life, it's you're born into your family, so family's family, right? But all my other friends were through school or through work or through happenstance. becoming a big and choosing to be a little is an intentional decision. You're entering into a relationship, right? You're inviting each other, as we talked about, into each other's lives. And it was the best decision I ever made, right? How it's helped me grow, the perspectives I've gained. And so that, that took me a few years to kind of crack that code. And ultimately I said, how can I want to work more with big brothers and big sisters. And honestly, I felt a little almost indebted. They had given me such a gift.
Wow.
How could I give back? And so really started volunteering more with big brothers, big sisters, lots of odd sort of ways. Some of the room here that's been with the organization for quite a while, odds and ends sort of stuff, different committees, different volunteering, and then ultimately joined the board about 10 years ago.
Okay, that's
so last fall when the opening for CEO came up, and actually I was approached to say, have you ever thought about this? And the truth is I never had.
Wow.
Right? You're in this, for me, I'm a health tech startup person. I hadn't thought of it in this perspective, but quickly kind of clicked for me. And as I went through the process, I saw more and more alignment, both around how I had lived and my life in Big Brothers Big Sisters, as well as even bringing in some of the nuances from that other for-profit world and how we could create some synergies there. So as through that process, and then as I've been on board for the first 3 months, really just seeing more and more of those synergies, right? And synergies as well as differences that hopefully can help fill spaces. So I feel so fortunate that opportunity was identified way back when.
Right.
6 months ago, but also long time ago. But also now just the opportunity to be here, to be side by side with this team of brilliant individuals looking to make it, that have made an impact, and how we can just continue that mission together.
I love it.
Now I know, Sondra, how we met,
right?
And I say that knowing that honestly, it seems like you know everyone, so maybe that's just in the ethos. How we met was you were on the search committee.
Yes.
So I would be curious, and not in too self-serving a manner, and I'm not fishing here, but what do you think that the committee and the agency or the committee was looking for in sort of the agency and leadership as well?
Yeah, so leadership and commitment and someone who had talent, skills, and abilities. And the thing about it is everybody on the list did. Right.
Sure,
I mean, they wouldn't have been, and we had quite the interview team, the selection committee. And so we're seeing all these different candidates, and I know what the committee was looking for, and I know what I was looking for. It's so I've been here in North Minneapolis, I've been leading an institution, and I won't lead it forever. And I thought to myself, something that's so important, central to children's lives, this institution, who would I want to come behind me? Who would I want to lead? And I had that same kind of frame on when we were interviewing. And so a couple things about you. One, you're wicked funny. So there were a couple of things you said, he is. There are a couple of things you said that I was just like, it was just witty, right? And so it was like, okay, so he might not take himself so seriously. And we need that as a leader, right? In organizations when the work is so serious, right? And weighty. So that was one thing. And then, just wicked smart. And having the business acumen. So a nonprofit is a business, and we have to return for our shareholders too, right? And our product happens to be transform lives. And so it was like, wow, he's going to be able to. There was just so many things that you did as an entrepreneur that I found very applicable to our work. And then the other biggest thing is that for me, I want people who are involved who have a heart for solidarity, not charity, where they feel like they are one with the community, with our families, with the children. And so when I heard you had been a big for 23 years, and then the thing that really got me is that your little was in your wedding. And as your best man, it was like, who does that? Right. And then all the volunteering you had done. I mean, Pat, for real, that was real for me. And I said, this person, they love this organization. And when you love something, you're going to treat it well. And so anyway, so that was, so I was, for me, And then it helped that you were a man of color. I thought that was important. And so anyway, so here we are, and I make good decisions.
Obviously.
Obviously, I make good decisions. So Pat, I am really excited. We're like, it takes me 5 minutes to get to you from my office, from my home, right? Why did you all decide to move to North Minneapolis?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. I felt like we were at the part of the talk show where like I have an emotional moment.
Yeah,
but thank you so much. I appreciate that. Our new space. I mean, clearly something our whole team is very proud of. I mean, at the root of it, first of all, years ago, we realized we needed a new space. Yeah. We were in this cramped little office on the 4th floor of this building. And we had no space to do programming, frankly. Right. We have a large free arts program with a plethora of art supplies, and we had art supplies scattered all over the city, right? So,
and I didn't know that, by the way. I didn't know you had that. Since here, now I know more of kind of holistically. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, not at all. I mean, so we have not only an area where we can host programming,
right?
But we can also use it as a hub for our programming across the Twin Cities, right? Yes. So we, as you've seen, and we'll have people come visit us, and we can't wait to show off the space to more and more people. We have a lot of space here to host programming again, hub it. Now, why we chose North Minneapolis is, again, if I think about our last space, 4th floor of an office building, you'd walk in, you'd hit the elevator button, you'd go up to the 4th floor, probably past like a dentist's office and then something else. And then you'd go in there, and honestly, as a board member going in there, it was a very quiet space. It didn't feel like there was a lot of, it didn't feel like everything we were doing, right? And everyone we were serving. Yeah. So a lot of what this space does is allows us to, almost literally put our feet on the ground, right? We're not up in this 4th floor. We're not disconnected. And really just better get in touch with the communities and the youth we serve. So, we have a great, a large portion of the littles and the youth we work with are in North Minneapolis. Yes. We serve youth across the whole Twin Cities, South Minneapolis, East St. Paul. Yeah. But absolutely, and as we as our community, especially our community, further steps into sort of understanding different perspectives, we need to be closer to it, right? And so as we've come into North Minneapolis, I think, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this, it would have been very easy for us to say, oh, we brought in a new space, you're welcome, community. Right? And I think
this is what I'm talking about on the interview.
Okay. I think for us, and I see it so much in my relationship with my widow, it's really, we know this community has faced challenges, right? And has challenges, and frankly, many are stemming from systematic racism, and our community has been awoken to that, even though it should have been inherently part of us forever. And I think getting closer to it allows us to really understand the voice of our youth, the voice of our community, and far less this mentality of like, let me tell you what programming you need, right? How are we in that position to say that? But more so, help us understand how we can best serve the community, how we can partner.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, and that's been my experience of you so far. Just so you know, in the just the few months that you've been here, we've interacted and are partnering now, which is so exciting for me. But this building is cool, and it really is, and I feel like the Northside deserves cool, and the Northside deserves greatness, and you're right. There's a reason why our neighborhood has become like it is. And so you're right. And structural racism has everything to do with it, and isolation and what we've allowed and not allowed. And you're also adding to the assets. So there are a lot of assets in this community. Right. And it's the people, and it's the places and the buildings and the history and the resilience and the camaraderie and and you all fit so perfectly in that peg. The peg is round and you're round. So let me ask you, Pat, what have you learned so far from being here in community with your space?
Yeah, I would say for me, I've learned that we have a lot to learn. And as we enter more into that, and it's easy to have a lot of assumptions, right, around individuals or communities. Right. And I'm inherent with my assumptions, and I think we really need to step back from that and see how we best fit it. And even as you describe it, right? I think coming into this space, I think North Minneapolis is a new community for much of our team, for me in general, right? It's a community I drive into and I leave in the evening, right? And so I think there's a lot of learning for us. And, you know, I think over time, as we best partner with our neighbors, we'll learn how to best lean into our culture and our personality and how it fits in the community. But also, you know, even as you talk about an asset, right, you know, we're thrilled that as we want to create those partnerships, we can even bring an asset like, you know, we've been thrilled, you've used our space sometime, right? And even if we think about a physical space and something that we can have pride around, you know, yes, please, an invitation to the community, come use our space. And again, as we get ingrained more into what it's like to be a good neighbor here, and again, from a culture perspective, from how we can extend our personality into the space, we'll continue to learn and continue to lean on that. And frankly, as best we can, knowing we have good days and bad, like as much humility as we can coming in and really learning how we can be the best partner we can.
Right, absolutely. Well, I tell you, I think we're all thrilled. So, you know, NAS has about 30 partners and nonprofits, again, I've told you in all the different areas. And so you all are youth facing and everything we do is about the youth. And so it is really, and, you know, in terms of, you know, I was giving thought to like, what can you all do to kind of really add value, you know? And the whole idea of helping a child to reach their potential, right? I mean, that's what I've kind of tried to spend my life doing, living on the North Side and working on the North Side through NAS. And they have such unlimited potential. But for your brown and black littles, sometimes people don't see it. And but you all do. And so doing what you already do well and doing more of that here in North Minneapolis, as well as, you know, you're big brothers, big sisters of Twin Cities, right? I get that. But having you physically located here is just huge. I heard a person say before, and it was a mom, but I think this is relevant to the youth as well, who said, you know, Sondra, I'm tired of nonprofits, you know, trying to meet me where I am, meet me where I dream. And I feel like that's the same with the youth. Like you all do both and.
Yeah.
Right. You definitely meet them and I know because we've partnered with you before. I know our scholars that have had bigs, you know, and that they're different. They have more experiences. They flower. So it's you meet them where they are, but you also meet them where they dream.
Well, I absolutely love that. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. And I mean, first of all, I absolutely love the role you play in the community and sort of, you know, I think of it as an umbrella that's really letting all of these nonprofits like ourselves play to our strengths, right? We don't have to go beyond our means. You can put us in this continuum. And I love what you're saying around dreaming. And even if I go back to that free arts program, I talked about it and we talk about it a lot. You know, you think about it, what I've experienced and I've been guilty of is you see a lot of what the world wants from nonprofits and from society is like sustainability, right? How do we make sure that people have the basic needs of life, right? The hierarchy. And I mean, I think we're all seeing it, it's flipped over, right? It's like, and when I think about that free arts program as an example of many programs we offer and work you do, it's not just about sustaining, right? And having a livable wage, doing a job that you hate. Right? It is about dreaming, right? And how do we use our program and everything even still to allow our youth to explore, right? And to be curious and to go for their dreams, not just to sustain and, but really expand beyond that. I think about that a lot when we talk about our free arts, but again, through everything we do, how do we really listen to the needs and the voice of our youth and where they're headed, right? Versus what we think they need and what is just enough to get by. Very much disconnected to our own existence. Yeah, absolutely. You ever heard the saying, parents say this, that children don't come with instruction manuals? But that's actually not true. And I had a woman from the U who leads the Institute for Child Development. And she said they actually do come with a manual. They are the manual. They tell you what they like and what they don't like and what they're interested in. And I think that's what you're saying. You kind of follow their interests. You're listening to them and they'll tell you, this is who I am.
right?
Yeah.
And then the additional experiences.
Yeah, if we've heard anything from our youth, and we've learned a ton, it's they're not quiet about what they want, right?
No.
I don't have kids, but I assume the same.
Yeah.
Although I thought you were gonna like offer up a manual, and if you need a manual for raising your kids, call Sondra.
I know, no. The little is the manual.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And of course, you're exposing them to other things too that they add to, you know, what they might be interested in.
Yeah,
which is fun about your program.
well, when we kind of dig into that partnership and your work a
Yeah.
little bit deeper, I mean, how can Big Brothers Big Sisters best support, you know, the future growth of the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that when you strengthen a child, you strengthen the community, right? And so we have a team approach at NAS, right? And you all have been part of that team, and you're part of that team again. And we have a great partnership through Medtronic and just what we're starting to do in terms of matching NAS scholars with Biggs and with Medtronic. But anyway, the team approach is, again, children don't come in pieces. And so we've said to our families and to our scholars, you're part of a team. You don't have to join a gang. You don't have to join a clique. We are your gang. We are your clique. And this is an example of that. Like mom and dad, they're part of the team, or maybe it's just mom or, you know, dad and so on, but they're part of the team, of course. And then all of our partners make up that team based on what the parents and the scholars say they need. So our families create an achievement plan, and the achievement plan is both for the family, housing, jobs, health, and it's also for the scholars, right? And so what you're seeing now is an example from like a decade ago. And this is one of our scholars, Jaquan, and this was the team. So, you know, one of our partners is PCYC after school program over North, Harvest Prep, a local public charter school. And then Jaquan had a big, right? And then they got behavioral health access through North Point. We have North Point Health and Wellness, which is also, these are all Northside organizations. And by the way, you're a Northside organization. I love saying that. And then we also have family achievement coaches, and they're hired from the community, and they work full time. And their whole thing is to help parents create that achievement plan, and then help them tap into the supports. And then, so this is a family's plan.
Yeah.
Right. And so what you all do in terms of community building, family building, dream building, child building, is that you're part of the team. You're part of the gang. You're part of the clique. And
it's good to belong.
And it is, I am just all of the research is just so clear of how, like, it's so critical for youth to have another caring adult in their lives. And so I feel like there's nowhere we can't go together.
I love hearing that. And I mean, I say this phrase a lot, and maybe a little bit too much, that maybe I'm just full of new guy optimism. But I actually hope it's who I am, but I love thinking about that potential and that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And stronger and better and bigger together.
And we need new guy optimism, by the way.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your work around justice and equity and diversity and inclusion. So what do you do here at BBBS?
Yeah, you know, and it's
and national too. So national and local.
Yeah, maybe I'll even start there. So we actually have a new CEO at the national level, Artis Stevens, and he joined about 6 or 7 months ago now. And a very strong focus on what we've termed Jedi: justice, equity, diversity, inclusion.
I love that.
And now if we think about sort of the history of Big Brothers Big Sisters, it's inherently in what we do, right? If you think about the worlds that we're bringing together. But to be frank, I think over time, and especially in the last few years, just much greater intentionality around it. And really, a lot of it is training our staff, working with our volunteers to make sure we are approaching these relationships as worlds coming together. You know, if I think about, and it's always easiest for me to think about it in terms of my little, you know, and I kind of refer to this, like I went into becoming a big, I was going to save the world one Derek at a time, right? I had this savior mentality. I was 24, right? I had it all figured out, right? I mean, I had been working a couple of years. I had put a little money in a 401k. I was set. And I think, and you'll hear this from any long-term match, is like, you quickly realize, oh, the impact going both ways
Right.
is incredible, right? You might have thought it was just this setup, but you realize what you're getting out of it as well. And I'll even admit it. So over the 20 years, there was quickly I realized what the fulfillment I was getting, what I was learning, perspective I was gaining. But it took me quite a bit longer to even realize that my norm wasn't the norm, right? That my path wasn't the only path to success, and without taking into anything else into account. And I think my little brother helped me figure that out in a very dynamic way. And again, my appreciation for Derek has grown and changed over time. And it really is, if I think about the life of a match and Derek and I, it's early on, you have a commitment, that grows into trust, and then you have accountability, and that's where you can start having influence on each other.
Right.
And you kind of went on a tangent there, but I think really what we want to do is we want to create that learning up front, right?
Mhm.
This idea that, again, there's perspectives to be gained,
Yes,
and
yes.
worlds coming together, and opportunity looks and feels, and the path to that is different for everyone.
Mhm.
And how do we best prepare our world? And in our case, a lot of times it's our bigs for that opportunity.
Right, absolutely. So the work becomes really important when you have people from different backgrounds coming together, and that's what you're highlighting, and building that trust.
Yeah.
And listening, because people's culture and ethnicity and experiences and parts of the community they live, it all goes into who they are. And so I think it's fantastic. How long have you been on that journey, on the Jedi journey as an organization?
Well, I mean, actually, the term Jedi is pretty recent. So
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Again, with a little bit of humility is maybe the word, although it could be something a little bit more. I do think it's intentionally been ingrained in who we are, again, from the beginning. We were created as an innovative alternative to the juvenile justice system.
Yes.
But the
100 years ago.
Oh, yeah, over 100 years ago.
Yeah,
but
you old folks.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to take that. But the intentionality, we weren't reading into it as much as we should have, frankly.
Exactly.
We were a little more
Got it.
playing in the space of, and there's a balance, right? That we're available for everyone, that we're accepting of everything. And I think we found that an organization like ours, with the mission we have, there has to be more intentionality and some conscious decisions made around those around issues of Jedi.
Right, absolutely. And it couldn't be more necessary than right now. Right. And so I want to get into Pat talking a little bit about opportunities and challenges, right? And in fact, oftentimes they're the same coin. And I believe they are, just different sides. And so, but we as a city, if we just talk about we kind of were the place where it all happened, right? But you got nationwide, worldwide, you got COVID, right? That disproportionately hit families and children in North Minneapolis, right? They were out of school for a whole year almost, unlike surrounding communities and private school kids, right? So that's one. But in their families, their parents were disproportionately let off. 74% of our families make $30,000 or less. Right, so they were the first to go, and then you had the egregious murder of George Floyd, right, and that pulled back the covers of racism, and if you look at the story of George Floyd from the time he was little, growing up, he was much like many of the littles, especially that live here and all around, and then the civil unrest, the rioting and looting happened over here. We didn't have a drugstore forever. And then the whole debate about policing, having police or no police, the number of police that have left the force now, we're about 250 cops short in the city overall. And violence is at an all-time high. And I guess, as you think about the challenges and opportunities, because there are also opportunities here. Like, where does your mind go, Pat? Because we had an incident kind of right away together. And what do you can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And even maybe going straight to that incident, which will speak to what we're talking about, is So in the middle of August, we had a joint initiative that we were doing where we were handing out backpacks, our back to school event, right, for our youth looking for additional supplies. We've done this annually for a long time, and we're thrilled to partner with you this year. And a few days before the event, you gave me a call and said, clearly in the news, we've been hearing about some of the killings in North Minneapolis, some of the murders, and one was a prominent gang member, and their procession was going to be on Saturday, the day of our backpack event, and we should consider potentially postponing or canceling the event because of a potential violence.
Right,
Retaliation. Yeah. And we had talked through it, and us being new to the space, clear, I was very I've so appreciated your perspective and your advice there. And we did end up canceling and postponing the event. We found ways to get the backpacks out. So, we're thrilled with that. We still have backpacks if some youth out there or families are looking for those kind of resources, please reach out to us. But what we found in the moment, and me being new to it and appreciating your counsel and working with our team, was that we had to find that balance of, and you had mentioned also, it was the first time you had ever canceled an event yourself. We wanted to communicate to our bigs in our community that, safety is our number one priority, right? We have to think about our youth and our kids. And so safety was our number one priority. But again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, it might be easy and a little too easy often to have assumptions around people and communities. And we wanted to make sure we are creating that safety, but not creating untrue, sort of embellished assumptions around North Minneapolis, right? We can't abandon our youth, right? And there, like you said, there's such potential, there's such opportunity. And I love how you said this. We just talked about this 15 minutes ago or 45 minutes ago. That when a family chooses to enter into this relationship with big brothers, big sisters, when they're inviting their child to become a little, they're inviting us into their lives, into their home, into their community. And so is the big.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to sort of embrace that you're being invited into this community. And again, not let sort of our assumption or I might even say fear.
Right.
And again, we have to balance, right? There's the safety of the day versus the potential of the future.
Right.
And find that balance. So, we're still navigating again. Sometimes it's just, how do we message this? How does the sentence sound?
Right.
But it's overall culturally. And again, as we continue to learn, as we enter into the community more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pat, you and I talked about it because it was like, you don't want to scare people. Like you said, you don't want them to abandon, but you want to keep it real around what we're facing. And I got to tell you, and you mentioned it already, families are inviting bigs in. They're signing a sheet saying, I want my child to have this person, this additional adult in their lives. That's a different entree. That's saying you're welcome in, right? And as long as we work together around safety, so we're mindful. We know, I got my ears on the streets. Like I kind of know what's happening a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And our partners and our staff and we hear and then we share. And this is where you and I, all of our partners meet pretty regularly, and we talk about what's happening so that all of the executive directors and CEOs are clear about what's going down, but we keep each other safe. And that's the thing that you've joined and we've joined you in doing that, right? And so we haven't lost a volunteer yet. So, but what we have gained are kids who are again living out their full potential, or even getting a vision of what that potential is, in fact.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do this together. I'm not
sure
worried.
So.
We gotta make sure. Yeah. And by the way, none of us know exactly what to do. We're in that place right now, and it's just so you know, because I don't know what to do. I know I kind of get a sense of what's happening, but don't know what to do.
As a new guy, I appreciate hearing that too.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, and all of us, Pat. So, all right. So, in closing, what I want to find out from you is, you all have. I know what you bring, and I know what you offer, and that's why this is just such an added value for the kids that we all love.
Yeah.
But what can the community do for you? How do we lean in, and how do we add value to your mission?
Yeah, if I think about it very tactically, and I'll just throw the biggest, easiest one out first, is we could always use more money. right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
you
right.
might say the same thing.
Hey, okay, fist bump, fist bump.
And so if you want to mail us a huge check today, I feel like we're going into telethon mode.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
put the number on the screen.
Yes, and the first one to get to, right.
Yeah, so we can always use that. And I mean, you'd be amazed, as I've seen through your organization, how far we can take a dollar, right? Your dollar is going to multiply and duplicate and have an impact like you wouldn't believe. But beyond that, I mean, I would also say we're always looking, we want to grow our program, right? So if you have someone in your life, a youth that feels like they could be part of our program, that could benefit from mentorship, if you've even had the inkling, we would strongly ask you to investigate it. I think, it's one of those that sometimes you don't know how powerful it can be until you get into it. So absolutely, we're reaching out to families to see how we can support and working through you. And you've helped us identify so many youth and littles and scholars that could use a mentor, and we want to make that connection. And then we could use more bigs.
Yes, we need bigs. We need bigs.
We need bigs.
Yes,
we need male bigs.
Yes,
right? We need male bigs of color.
Yeah.
And so,
but we need everybody.
We need everybody.
Right,
we
right.
yes.
Because you know how sometimes people say, well, that's not me. Right?
I'm so glad you clarified it.
We need everybody.
We need everybody. And kind of, piling on to what you said, it's, these families that invite you into their homes because they want to have a little, or these bigs that create that invitation as well. It really is, there's no other way to say that, like, anyone could be a little,
right,
and anyone could be a big.
Yeah.
But really, like, it's a special person that chooses to do so. And I mean, so when you think about that invitation from that little, that little and that family, frankly, isn't just your average little and your average family.
They're not.
That big, and anyone can be a big.
Right.
But it takes somebody special to become a big, and that person I just don't think they're an average, ordinary person either, right? They've seen something that they want to give, they want to learn. And we could far use more of that. And again, I sound like a cliche here as a big, and talking to all the matches we've got, it's not only work that you're giving to the community, and maybe in your head, at least initially, you can check the box of community service or something, but the impact that we'll have on you, like I said, choosing to become a big was the best decision I've ever made. I think about Derek a lot, and I think we could say this both ways, back and forth, but sometimes when I'm feeling good about myself, I'll say, Derek's on a better path because of me. Right. And I'm a better person because of Derek. And I think you would consistently hear that through matches.
That's great. That's great.
So with that, in closing, thank you. I do want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Does the chat with Pat end?
No, well, I mean, we're going to do some questions.
Okay.
We can leave the camera on all day. I think there's some sandwiches if you're hungry.
That chat with Pat.
And people can watch us eat dinner. But I do want to thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time today. And honestly, since meeting during that interview process, and I do think we kind of fired up the room a lot, even during the interview, with sort of our little, the fun we were having.
Yes.
I want to thank you for all your advice, guidance, and partnership the last 3-4 months, however long we've been doing this as well.
Yeah, it's for the children.
For the children. Yeah. So with that, I might reach out to the throngs in our audience. Maybe a couple questions in the balcony up there. And if you could turn the lights down a little, we get the sound guy to pick up.
So many people, we might not get to everybody.
Yeah, so
but
to see if there are some questions.
Yeah, so we have a question from one of our BBBS team members. Ms. Samuels, so grateful to have you here. What words of wisdom would you give to a big brother or big sister matched with a little through NAS?
Oh, wow. What, just to do what you all do. I mean, that's why it's so, it is, there's nothing different. The only thing that I think that adds value is that big is now connected to the scholar, but connected to so many other organizations, as well. And so maybe the thing I would say is that if they notice that there are some additional needs the family might have, or the scholar, that they can reach out, right? And find out what else is available. Because here's the deal. One of the things that we do with our partners is we say, when there are supports needed, our littles, their families can't fall to the bottom of the list. because then it doesn't allow our experiment to work. Our experiment says, if you give kids and families what they need, they will flourish and the children will flourish. So Biggs and Naz actually have access, and they can make sure that the scholars have access to wraparound supports.
Fantastic. I love that idea of collaboration and the 1 + 1 = 3 and all that. But
Yes, 1 + 1 = 10.
1 + 1 = 10.
Yes.
But absolutely, I think there's just, as I've jumped into this role and I've started to learn about, frankly, nonprofits I'd never even heard of, and sort of just that depth of knowledge of each other, right? How do we create that collaboration? And so we don't all have to solve everything in every little space. There's somebody out there doing great work as well.
Exactly.
And I love sort of us
That
and
we're
the organization being able to speak to that.
So we do have another question.
Okay.
Now that BBBS is officially part of North Minneapolis, what is the process for digging in deeper? What are Sondra's suggestions for outreach and or getting to know our new partner organizations?
Yeah, well, Pat, you've been amazing. So one is our partnership together that we're working to match littles and bigs. That's huge, right? And then you being a part of our collaboration meetings that we have with and being a member of our executive leadership team of all the nonprofits that are working together and meeting with us regularly, you'll be part of helping us shape our strategy for all of it, and then your staff too. And that'll come, because it's not always us. Well, actually, we're already doing it. Because you and I are not the ones kind of making all this happen, right? It's people on my staff and on your staff. And so the big thing is that as we build out the partnership, that we continue to be in each other's worlds. And then, you invite me to stuff, you're part of our team already, right? And then your team, and it'll be organic, but it'll grow, as we continue to partner together.
Well, thank you. And again, speaking of invitations, we so appreciate that invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have one that's kind of from a little. So this one goes into the silly fun bucket. My little would like to know what color Pat's Jedi lightsaber is.
Wow.
That's a profound question. We need a profound answer.
Yeah, I'm battling my desire to want to go super nerdy. What do you mean, a lightsaber? I've never, and I mean, I think I've heard some of the reasoning behind some of the sabers. And I think I read, I'm trying to play it coy.
Yes.
That a yellow lightsaber was sort of someone that was sort of a protector and more calm. And I think I might go with yellow.
Okay.
I don't own a lightsaber. You could believe me or not.
I used to, because I am such a Star Wars freak. I was like, I think 11 when it first came out. So I watched all of them. Return of the Jedi. Yoda says, don't. Yep. Yoda says, don't try, do.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy in life.
I love it.
So.
What color is yours?
So I
was
think I'm gonna say mine is red, and I don't know why, but it's red.
I think in the early ones, those are kind of the
dark
side.
Oh no, okay, no.
I don't know. I just remember. I don't remember. Star Wars.
You're just making stuff up.
Totally. I think I'm right. Maybe one of the widows on the
maybe they should tell us, confirm.
Yeah. So this is a
if they're good or bad, good and bad colors. I don't want the bad color.
We have another question. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. So please keep them coming if you have anything you want to ask Pat and Sondra. Another question is, has BBBS seen a shortage of mentors? And are there current openings for new littles?
Yeah, so I mean, to some degree, we kind of always have a shortage of mentors. We're always looking for more bigs, as we talked about, and all bigs. But specifically, if we were thinking about shortages, it's really around more so with men of color.
Yeah.
So again, if you're considering it, having even the slightest inkling, please look into it. At least investigate it. And I think again, you kind of don't know the impact until you give it a look and you give it a try, right?
Yes.
I find that so many of my friends that have were bigs or became bigs because of knowing me, it just took them forever to take that first step. Just like everything in life, it does. And so just take that first step, right? And you can decide each step along the way, but we would strongly advise this. And then I think the second part of the question was around openings for littles.
Right.
And absolutely, right? So we always have sort of the dual push, which you do as well, as quantity and quality.
Yes.
And it doesn't work without both, right? So we want to make sure we have the most impactful matches we can, and we want to serve as many youth as possible. So please, all sides of it, if you're thinking about it, we strongly suggest you give it a look.
And we just put the URLs on our website into the chat. So both for how to volunteer and how to enroll a child. Here's a question for Sondra. How do you become a partner with NAS as a fellow child-facing nonprofit?
Oh, just give me a call. Yeah, so it's always, so housing, health, career, early childhood, K through 12 schools, after school summer programs, and then our parenting education. So it's always, we just talk, and if there's a fit, we don't have an exhaustive list of partners. We want to make sure that it works and everything, but we have to first have a conversation. So that's the main thing. All right.
There aren't any other questions right now, I don't think.
I see one.
Oh, yep.
So as a mentor during COVID, I felt isolated from the BBBS community. Pat, what plans are in place for utilizing the space to foster community among your bigs and littles?
Yeah.
Great question.
Yes, absolutely a great question. And I mean, it's a little bit of like, frankly, we share some of that frustration. We are so anxious to put the full, I was going to say, this operational Death Star, right?
Yeah.
It was going to make us the full power of the space to work. And we've been, like this summer, right? We were all so excited that naively, and we hadn't learned anything the year before, that we were moving into this space where we could. And so we're entering into more precaution, right? Even this was supposed to be a big, grand open house.
Right.
So we're navigating the next wave of COVID, but we have huge high hopes that this will be a community space that, again, open to our community partners, but really housing a lot of programming, and when we do, and even if people are interested in seeing the space even now, they can come in and we can do small tours and stuff.
Right.
But when we finally show it off, you're going to see that there is just a lot of space for gathering, for interaction, for collaboration. We a couple nights ago we had through some STEM programming, we're doing a robotics course, right? There were these little mechanized contraptions going all over the place, right? We did graphic design before, we do youth leadership here, and that's going to be multiplied tenfold, right? Now we have to approach it sort of with a precaution, but absolutely we want to be this as a place that can introduce some of that programming, but also is just a welcome space where a big and little can meet, a big and a big could then interact, right? Littles can meet, and we so often talk about how that relationship with a big and a little becomes far more than just the two of them, right? I think about Derek and how I know his family and he knows mine, and we all, and our communities. And I think that's what we want to see happen, right? We want our bigs and littles to grow, but not in isolation, and having that physical space will allow us to better serve them.
Great. We do have another question. What safeguards are made to parents regarding the BIGS background?
Yeah. So that's a huge part of the work we do, right? When we think about safety, and I think about sort of the team here and the work they do, and honestly, even as a board member, I probably didn't understand the depth of it. But there's thorough interviews, there's background checks. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Background checks. Someone was showing me fingerprinting. And I particularly my charades was like, check the time or so. So yes, there's a number of steps that go into. I'm so sorry about that. Yes, I should have known. And understanding sort of the big in their background, including reference checks. I'm getting shown lots of things, which is fantastic, and I so appreciate it. I wouldn't even care if you screamed out things I'm missing. But
Detailed interview, professional references and personal references, motor vehicle checks and background checks.
so I hope you heard that. A number of background and safety checks, driving records. It's a very, very thorough process. And I mean, to some degree, you know, I find, and maybe I'm getting into the weeds here, you know, when talking with funders or people in the outside world, where do the dollars go? And I'm sure you get this too, like, why is it, you know, we will show, here's the cost to make a match, and why does it cost that much? And so much of it is making sure, clearly we want to try to match and for the most promise and impact, but safety being our number one priority, we want to make sure that we are putting people into safe spaces.
Yeah. That's why I trust you all so much. You have a thorough check.
You should really look at them when you say
You
that.
have a thorough check.
We have time for a couple more questions. This one's for Sondra. Could you give a 1-minute review of NAS? Is it an organization connecting the pieces and the other organizations together, more than an organization who connects littles to volunteers?
Right, so yes, we are, in fact, we're called technically a backbone organization. So we provide, we have family achievement coaches that connect, they do achievement plans, connect our families to our partners. We lead partner meetings, we do evaluations, we have all kind of trainings. We do a whole host of parenting and youth trainings around parenting education and things of that nature. But our role is not to mentor. Our role is to connect organizations, families, and children to support, to education, to training. And then that we are working collaboratively with us as the backbone for our children to be successful. And so very different than our direct service organizations and partners. And that's the thing that, like, we don't need to do housing, and we don't need to do mentoring, and we don't need to do early childhood supports. We have partners who do that. And they're phenomenal at it. And that's why I know this has been a missing piece for us. We did it in the beginning in terms of the mentoring piece. Then we, stepped away from it for a while, and so happy to be back to doing that. But yeah, NAS is bringing all of the organizations together.
And just to clarify, the two questions that popped up is your focus is North Minneapolis and you're a nonprofit, correct?
Yes, focus is North Minneapolis, and we are a nonprofit. We do, we have one school that we partner, all of our schools are located, all of our organizations are located in North Minneapolis. There's one high school that we also partner with, and that's Cristo Rey, and that's in South Minneapolis. So, but the rest are all north.
Great, thank you. We're almost out of time. Here's another question. How can BIGS potentially request letters of recommendation from BBBS for professional school? Is that something that BBBS has done before?
For that one, I'm actually going to defer to the team again.
Reach out to your match support person.
So reach out to your match support person, and they can help with that. Thanks.
So just in closing, it's not a question, but we got a really great statement in the chat. Melody said, as a new BIG who just got my match after waiting almost a year, this chat with Pat plus Sondra has been wonderful. Thank you for offering this. And we just all want to express our appreciation. And any closing remarks you want to say?
Pat, I'm going to let you defer to you.
Well, again,
this is the chat with Pat.
Again, thank you so much, Pat. Chat with Pat and Sondra. It sounds like. But thank you so much. I think we probably agree that whenever we get together, we kind of have a hoot. We sometimes aren't as focused as we always could be, but we have a good time.
We do.
And we get through a lot of good conversation, just like we did today. And again, so thankful for what NAS is doing and our partnership with you. It's and helping, honestly, the whole community see how these pieces fit together. I feel so lucky that we're one of those pieces.
Thank you.
And then from an organizational perspective, I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity to lead this organization. And again, stand side by side with the staff going forward and our community, and really, really just this idea that we are bigger together. Thank you so much, everyone.